Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. I think it's appropriate when talking on this issue to bring into this chamber the experiences and the voices of people who are most affected by this issue that we're discussing today. I remember the people that I met at the showgrounds, the people whose lives have been utterly ruined by gambling, the people who have lost children, who have sons and daughters in jail, who have had family members kill themselves because they were so addicted to gambling that they had lost their homes, their relationships, their children, and their own sense of self-worth. This is an utterly predatory industry. It is about making money out of other people's misery. Every person in this chamber should know that. And the fact that we have the Liberal Party and now the Labor Party prepared to walk away from those people's lives, Tasmanian people's lives, people who live in our suburbs, in our very streets, people like every person in this chamber and every other person we might meet at a community event somewhere in our day-to-day work. Those are the people that desperately needed us to make a principled stand, all of us, at the last election. Now, the fact that the Liberal Party sold their soul and was prepared to sell the souls of every single person who is struggling with addiction from gambling in Tasmania, the fact that the Liberal Party did that and allowed themselves to be bought is a matter of public record. It is a stain on that party, and that stain will live with the Liberals and particularly with Premier Hodgman for decades to come. The Premier carries that stain and he knows it in his heart that this election was bought by Federal Group so that they could continue to gouge money out of Tasmanians. Because what we have in Tasmania is, in the last year, we have had nearly 330 more gambling machines that have been approved to go into pubs and clubs, Mr Deputy Speaker. That equates to, according to the estimates, $150,000 a machine, that equates to an extra $50 million being taken out of the poorest people in this state, on top of the hundreds of millions of dollars a year that is already taken from those people. This is not just some figure. This is real money. And where does it come from? It comes from the money they would spend on the food that they would put on the table for their children. The Labor Party knows this. That's why they went to the last election and told Tasmanians that they would take a principled stand. Finally, they would take a stand against the terrible history of their party for supporting the Federal Group, federal hotels, moving into our suburbs and gouging Tasmanians as they have for decades. They promised. Rebecca White, the leader of the Labor Party, who, Mr Deputy Speaker, has left the chamber, clearly not wanting to hear what the Greens have to say on this important matter. She's left the chamber because she promised that she had listened, Labor had heard, and they would act to end this disgusting, predatory behaviour and remove pokies from pubs and clubs, break up that whole arrangement and make sure that Federal does not continue to do what they are currently doing every single day, putting people into poverty, mental health, ill health, neglect of children, all the other things that come with gambling. Instead, what the Labor Party has done, what the leader of the Labor Party in Tasmania has done, is buckled to federal Labor, who have buckled to federal hotels and the money that flows to the federal Labor Party, the Tasmanian Labor Party, just like it flows to the Liberals from the gambling industry. So she has buckled, she has backed down, and she is letting down, on behalf of all the people she promised to letting down for those people the promise that she made. So, Mr Deputy Speaker, I don't want to waste my time talking about Labor. They have utterly shamed themselves on this issue. People know that they were lied to, and the problem is these things ricochet, because when people lie, when people change their position, when people say they are acting on principle and then they backflip, what it does is it sets a stain on all of us. Look at what's happening at the federal level right now. Look at where we are in politics. We owe it to the democracy, the institutions of democracy, we owe it to uphold the principles that we say that we believe in. So the Greens do not accept the word gaming. It is gambling. There is no fun about this. There, in fact, is misery and suffering. It is not about freedom of choice. The Liberals just use that as a narrative to pick up and put down at will. Freedom of choice, the crazy conflicted values the Liberals have about this means that on the one hand, they want to lock people up for petty little personal levels of drug use, and on the other, but they're more than happy to weaken our gun laws to give people freedom of choice. To your hey, you want to have this type of gun. It's not convenient for you. The administration's too much. We'll just weaken the laws so that you can get what you want.
Time has expired. The time for the debate has expired. The question is.